Welcome to the Motormouth YouTube channel. I'm Zach.
I'm Andrea.
And we do full-length car reviews each and every week. And halfway through, we came up with a segment called Questions, Coffee, and Cars, where people send in their questions. You liked it. We spun it off. We're up to number 48. It's going to be the Magic 50 soon, Andrea. How do you get a question in?
Follow along on Instagram at Motormouth_Andrea. Every Sunday at 7 a.m. Pacific time, I put a post out. It's only up for a short time. Once we gather all of our questions, the post is deleted and we start the show.
Time now for Questions, Coffee, and Cars.
Your questions from Instagram.
Good morning from Dunedin, Florida. I'm newly retired and will be replacing my 2023 BMW 328 sedan with a small SUV. I'd like something easy to use and safe for an older driver. I like the Subaru Forester. Are there any other options worth considering?
Well, there's loads of options. First of all, shout out to Dunedin, Florida. That's where the Toronto Blue Jays have their spring training. Canadians know Dunedin. Never been.
Surprised Jack doesn't say our oldest son, he's like crazy about sports. When can we go to Florida to watch the training camp? What's in that? There's one in Arizona video.
Oh, they're all over. Yeah, a lot of them go to Arizona, a lot in Florida. Anyway, back to your question. So you have a lot of vehicles that you could choose if you're wanting something safe. So Subaru does do safety really well. They have the advanced forward collision warning, the lane keep assist, the lane trace. All of the stuff
all-wheel drive system.
The all-wheel, yeah, not Florida, not so much. Unless you're trying to get away from a gator, or get to the mall. There you go. I think that if you like the Subaru, and it sounds like you do, hell yeah, get one.
The great thing about the Forester is it's really open. Visibility is excellent. Large windows, large doors. It's just easy. It's just an easy vehicle
to live with.
Yeah.
And so this is somebody said he's he's older, right?
Yeah, he's older.
And one of the things is getting in and out. As you know, you get a little creaky, the back, the knees, all that. Your hips are sore. Getting in and out of a Forester. It's got a very upright, large door, easy to get into, and you know that they've got a very advanced safety system, so you're good. And then you can get away from the gators with your all-wheel drive.
And since you're coming from a car, I just would like to suggest also the Subaru Outback. It's also terrific, great visibility, easy peasy to drive, easy to get in and out of the cabin.
By the way, pro tip.
I really like it.
If you like, you've had a BMW. So if you're looking at the Outback, nice thing about the Outback over the Forester is it's available turbo engine. And that's the one I would pick. It's got the wagon kind of vibe, which I like, but the turbo makes all the difference.
A big difference. And coming from a BMW, the Forester, when accelerating on the highway, sometimes you do hear that engine matched with a CVT. Hi guys, love your show. I'm currently shopping around for my first car. I've been leaning towards a used 2020 Volvo XC40, 50 kilometers, momentum line. The thing is, the prices are quite high. They're all consistently $4,000 to $5,000 above the max Carfax retail range. 2020 Audi Q3's comfort line with the same mileage are going for $4,000 less versus the XC40 and are priced within the Carfax retail range. Would you suggest has better value for a used car, and do you think prices of used cars in general will come down?
Well, you can play their game. And you can go in there and say, because you got to remember, the ask that you're seeing online is the ask. That's not the sale price.
No.
So you can go in there and go, yeah, I really like this XC40. It's well, you know what, hon? Let's go to the Audi store. Those Q3s, they're so much less. Oh, wait a second.
They might do something.
They might do something for you. And you might spend a little premium to get the Volvo if you really like it. But I don't think it's going to be $3,000 to $4,000 more. You got to remember, whatever is advertised is the asking price. It's not the actual sale price.
And it also depends on features, what the vehicle has. The comfort may have less than the momentum that you're talking about of the XC40. I don't know the exact features of the 2020 models, so that's why I'm saying that. So you might get a little bit more in the XC40, which is why the price is higher. I also think the interior is nicer. The Volvo is offering a more upscale interior than the Q3.
I like the Q3.
I like the Q3 too.
Q3 does a lot right.
It's a lot more hard plastic.
It's not fancy. It's not a fancy pants car.
No, but fun to drive. Thank you for all the info in your channel. Always learn a lot. Great. Any info on when the 2024 Hybrid Sonata will be available in Canada? So online, if you go, it says it's coming soon. It's supposed to be here. It's winter of 2023. S3. So I would just keep looking out for it. I'm sure if you go to the dealership, you can already order one, but it's on the way.
So they announced the Elantra Hybrid and the Sonata Hybrid the same day. And we've already driven the Elantra Hybrid, so it's arrived.
Yes.
So get in touch with your dealer and they'll be able to tell you, they'll know exactly because they're going to get their demo models. You know, they'll know exactly in their pipeline where they are. They even say it's on a train on the way here.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
There you go.
What are your thoughts on the VW Golf R versus a low option Audi S3? Pricing is similar. Looking for a new daily, most likely to purchase in 6 months. What would you go with?
Okay, so which one is what? Which one is more expensive?
The
Its pricing
S3
is similar.
is more expensive. I actually have it here. The S3 Comfort is over $54,500. It is 306 horsepower. And the Golf R is just over $52,500. And we're talking about automatic because it's comparable in price. And you can't get a manual with the S3 anyway. 315 horsepower for the Golf R.
The only thing I don't know, because we haven't driven an S3, we've driven the regular A3, which is a load of fun. So we should back this up a little bit. These are both built on the same platform, right? Yep. Volkswagen develops the platform and they make it into many vehicles. Audi takes it and turns it into the Audi A3, the S3, and the RS3. RS3 is this whole other thing. That's the one I would get. But anyway, the S3, what I don't know is, for the Golf R, they added in the new active rear axle with the drift mode and the race modes and all that kind of stuff. I'm not sure if the S3 has the old all-wheel drive system or the new all-wheel drive system. That I can't answer. But yeah, they're built off the same platform with the similar engine and everything.
I think looks alone, I prefer the S3 over the Golf R. Obviously, you're going for an automatic. I guess that's your preference because you're talking about the S3. He also said he was looking at a 2020 Porsche Macan, which is a whole other ballgame. That's a whole other thing.
Yeah, you know what? I would suspect that the Audi's easier to get than the Volkswagen.
I think so,
because every boy racer in town wants a Golf R, and they want to be seen in a Golf R. The S3 is real sleeper territory because it doesn't really look like that much. That's the only question I don't know. Is it got the old all-wheel drive system or the new all-wheel drive system?
Okay, so what would you get?
Well, I would get the one that I think is going to hold the value the best, and that's the Golf R.
Okay, so Golf R.
If you can get one.
It is. I would probably go for the 2020 Porsche Macan just to throw it in there because it's just so fun to drive.
Is it a Macan or a Macan S?
It's a base.
Yeah, no, that's a different, no.
Come on,
No. If you're wanting a 300 horsepower, that ain't going to cut it.
No, it's not going to cut it. You'd have to get the S, which is more money. All that stuff. I don't know. I'm kind of torn on it. Here's our thing.
I just want to say...
We would get the manual transmission of the Golf R, so we would get the Golf R.
Okay, so your numbers are 53,000. You can buy a really nice used Porsche Cayman for that kind of money.
Yeah.
And that will hold its value. The Golf R will as well. But I'm just saying, you could buy a Cayman, you could drive it...
That's only two-seater. Maybe he needs more seats.
Take the bus. Tell them to take the bus.
Take the bus. Take the bus. Really enjoy your content. Great work. Will you be reviewing the new BMW X2? Looks really fun and would love to hear your thoughts. We saw the X2 at the LA Auto Show recently.
It was Japan Mobility Show.
Was it?
Yep, that's where they showed it.
I thought it was.
It's all a blur, Andrea.
No, I can't remember. We were in Japan, then we went to LA.
It was in Japan.
Maybe it was Japan. Anyway, I agree with you. It looks terrific. I can't wait to drive it.
I can tell you why.
Don't know when.
BMW wasn't at the LA Auto Show.
That's right.
So it was Japan. Yeah, I mean, all you need to do is look at the X1, crop the roof, and you got an X2.
Yeah.
And sometimes they give you different powertrain availability, but essentially it's the same car.
But when will we drive it? That's a good question.
It'll be this spring and summer, I think.
Yeah, sometime. Hi, Andrea and Zach. Thanks for all your great advice. Thank you. I'm considering to change my wife's SUV, and I noticed the Acura is having great discounts and interest rates at 4.9% on the 2024 MDX. Could this be a trend in the industry, or maybe just Acura over inventory? I don't know.
Well, the one thing you got to remember is that those vehicles are made in North America, right? So they have production and they need to move the cars. So if they're not moving and there is a slowdown, somebody who's in finance, Derek, he always sends me these little notes about, he says I can't show them, but he said this is the information he gets on the finance side. He invests money. And he said the indicators are doing this for new car purchases. So that's in the United States.
Economy is going.
Yeah, so the economy, the interesting thing is that the economy is actually in the last quarter was booming in the US. However, inflation is still a real thing. And that's what they call stagflation, where you have inflation, but you have stagnant wage growth and people can't keep up. And so they're getting penny pinched and new cars are going to suffer from that. I think that's the first incentive. So they lower interest rates. That's how they entice you to buy the car.
Yes. Now, I haven't heard that people are getting an MDX like this. So it could just be Acura starting to lower their rates now. Audi, from what I hear, has not. They're still up at 8%.
So the way it's going to go is if the economy really slows down, interest rates will be the first thing. That's already caught your eye. Okay, instead of 7 or 8%, they're giving it to you at 5%. Okay, then it could go down to 2%. The companies are buying down that money. And then if things get really bad, then they'll throw money on the hood and they'll go $2,000, $3,000 off. We heard an interesting story that people in Canada cannot get Acura models because USA is being served first.
Yeah.
And so
that's why I'm surprised about that 4.9%. So if you can get it, the MDX is a terrific vehicle. Lots of space. It handles incredibly well like a large sedan. I think that's really good interest rates wise. I haven't heard that. It's very good. Hello from Park City, Utah.
Ooh, pretty there.
So pretty.
We were there.
We really enjoyed Utah. Hoping to see you sitting in your GTI soon.
Us too.
Quick update. You want to give a quick update on that?
Car has been made. The dealer said, yes, it's been made. And the car's name is Otto Wolfsburg.
That's what we've named it.
OTTO, made in Wolfsburg, Otto Wolfsburg. And it's somewhere in transit from Germany to Canada. Is it still on a ship? Is it on a train?
We don't know.
He thinks it's going to be end of this year, beginning of next year when it comes.
Yeah, I'm thinking we probably get it next year. That's my feeling, the way it's all rolling out for us. There's been quite a few delays.
Interestingly, my brother, his Toyota Prius Prime was made at the beginning of October.
Yes.
And it's already landed in Canada.
Lucky him.
So it's gone from Japan to the port here in Vancouver and then will be shipped to Toronto. So he's hoping to get it right around Christmas.
Oh, what a great Christmas gift for him.
So it's a race to see if my brother gets his Prime before we get our GTI.
My bet is he's getting it first. Hey guys, love the videos. Thank you. What are your thoughts on the Cybertruck and will you be reviewing one? Well, I just want to say, I wish I was there for that unveiling because boy, did that ever look exciting. And we would have loved to have shared that on the channel.
But you have to have a PR department. So the interesting thing is that Tesla doesn't do automotive events.
No.
They cherry pick influencers, you could call them, to get access to the vehicle. So they do a lot of tech people.
Yeah.
They get a lot of tech people. You've seen some of the famous YouTube channels that review cell phones and laptops and technology. They get the car because they kind of fanboy on all the tech stuff.
Yeah.
And Elon Musk is being smart about this. He gives the cars to people who are tech enthusiasts. We have to actually beg and borrow. So if anybody out there has a Cybertruck on the West Coast, and
it's coming in,
and you have one, and you'd be willing for us to drive it,
we would love to.
That's the problem. It's like people say, "Oh, when are you driving the Model 3? How do we get a Model 3?"
I know.
Like it's just a company that doesn't support. And they cherry pick who they give their cars to. Always remember that about Tesla. Tesla gives cars to people they want to influence the brand. Yeah. They don't just give cars to people to have at it and review them.
And like I think you said with the technology, it's so good in Tesla models that people who are really geeking out on that tech, I can see why they would want to give it to them for sure. I think it looks a little strange.
Yeah, it's an odd looking thing.
Yeah, it's odd, but boy, is there a ton of hype about this vehicle.
You know what's interesting in the doors? In every major car, there's a beam that goes across here. That's for side impact. So someone's going to T-bone you. There's a bar that goes between. They don't need that because the outside skin of the vehicle is so strong you can kick it. It won't dent.
Throw anything at it.
It's going to be able to absorb that impact. It's got the silly glass that you can throw ball bearings at. I mean, it's actually good because people do break into vehicles. But there's a lot of tech and stuff that goes into that. I just think that is a bit of a wow versus do you really need it?
Of course, but how many things do we really need? It's mostly about what we want. We could get away with a whole lot less in this world. Greetings from Toronto. I'm a fan of Questions, Coffee, and Cars episodes. My question might be basic, but as someone fairly new in Canada, I'm curious about lease endings. If you don't want to keep the car at the end and don't want to get a new one from them, do you just return the car and stop paying? I've heard people say there are no maintenance worries with lease cars. Does this mean the dealership handles all the maintenance, including basic oil changes free of charge? No.
No, it depends on the brand. In Canada, right now, currently, the only brand that does leasing that has maintenance included is BMW. So for 3 years, I learned this actually because we had a BMW and 4 years we had it. And then it went in and they go, oh no, you got to pay for the last one. I'm like, wait a second.
That was nice to have.
It was nice to have.
Yeah.
It is included in the price of your car. It's not free, it's included. But yes, back to the leasing thing. When you sign that piece of paper, the piece of paper is very clear at the end of the lease, whether how many months it is, or whether it's 3 years or 4 years, you have a specified price that vehicle is worth. You, as the leasee, can buy that vehicle for that specified price. They've given you a guaranteed residual value. If, however, you have the vehicle for 3 or 4 years and you don't want to keep it, you actually just give the keys back.
Yep.
And then that's it. One thing you have to remember, if you do a security deposit on the vehicle, the person that gets the security deposit back, say they make you put $1,000 down as a security deposit, especially for someone who's a new immigrant, because you maybe don't have a credit rating yet. So maybe it's even more. Maybe it's $5,000. The person that has the lease at the end, they get the money. So if I assign the lease to Andrea and I put the $5,000 in, Andrea gets it, not me. That's not right.
That's not right. So we leased an Audi A7 and we had to pay for all the maintenance throughout the whole lease. We decided actually to buy out the vehicle and sell it for ourselves. We made some money on it, so why not? It doesn't work that way for everybody. Some people just give it back. Some people want the new and the latest, so they lease, they give it back, and then they either go for another vehicle or they stay with the brand and they get the same model but new. It just depends on what you want. Some people feel that they don't want to lease because they always have a payment. And sometimes it's nice to own your vehicle, keep it for a longer period of time, and have no payments whatsoever. Zach and I are in that situation now.
We
own all
payments.
of our vehicles. And I gotta say, it's kind of nice, but we're also in a unique situation where we have 2 new vehicles each week that we test drive.
Yeah, but the other thing is it depends on your line of work, right? If you're in commission sales, for example, or if you're in outside sales, you're a real estate agent, you're somebody that can run the car through as an expense. Leasing and having the maintenance included in a newer vehicle and getting a new one every 3 or 4 years is just a cost of doing business,
That's
right? Like advertising, like an office space or whatever. You go, okay, I'm spending $600 a month for the car. I'm prepaying for the maintenance. Everything's covered, and every 3 or 4 years you get a new car. For some people, that's peace of mind.
Makes sense. Or if you just have a business where you can
write it off,
write off the vehicle, it also makes sense in that case to just continue to lease. You know what your monthly payments are, and you stick with that.
The other thing to keep in mind is if you're running it through a company, right, then the company is paying for the vehicle with before tax dollars.
That's right.
So there's lots of, listen, get in touch with your accountant. The basics are, if you lease a car, and when you're done with the car and you don't want to keep the car, you give the keys back. Granted, it's in good shape because any tears, scrapes, scuffs, whatever, they can ding you for that. So just be prepared.
And they want to see that you did all the maintenance as well.
We're all done, Andrea. We've up against the clock. How do you get a question in? Yes, we are.
Follow along on Instagram at motormouth_Andrea. Every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Pacific time, I put a post out. Once we gather all of our questions, the post is deleted and we start the show. Thanks for watching, and make sure you subscribe.
Bing
we
the
put out a
bell.
lot of content each week. Hit that notification bell. You'll be notified when all of our reviews drop.
Or else.
Or else.